So my name is Jim Parrish. I operate the Parrish Law Firm in Manassas, Virginia. We are a personal injury law firm, which means that we represent people who are injured in most commonly motor vehicle collisions or by other means, such as being attacked by a dog or being hit on a bicycle by a vehicle, things like that.
Wow, there's some serious things here. I'd like to start off with asking you a little bit of a background about yourself. Can we get a brief personal background about you, your education, and early career in law, please?
Sure. So, I actually grew up in Manassas, Virginia, and I went to the University of Virginia for undergraduate studies. I attended the University of Virginia for law school. When I exited law school, I joined an insurance defense firm in Fairfax. And so, to give the viewer an understanding, insurance defense is the opposite side of the courtroom from what I presently do. So, I started out working for insurance companies, defending personal injury claims. I made partner in that firm within a couple of years, and then later split out on my own and decided to exclusively practice on the plaintiff side, representing the victim of these types of situations.
Absolutely. And what was that transition like for you? Was it easy? Were there a little bit of hurdles you had to get over?
It was actually very easy because I had defense work that kind of carried me through
Mm,
the first part of the practice while I was gaining clients on the plaintiff side. And so there really weren't any hiccups or hurdles beyond those that are normally faced whenever opening a new business.
nice.
Now, I will say the first day of the new business was when my daughter was being born.
Oh,
So we had a lot of, attachment to that
yeah.
beginning time.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you'll never forget that.
Absolutely.
And then, what was the motivation behind starting your firm, your own?
Well, when I was a partner at the old firm in Fairfax, I had, I think I was in my mid 30s. And I had partners that were 62, 65, 68. And quite candidly, they wanted me to earn the money for them. And that just didn't, gel with what I wanted to do.
Yep.
Also, they were very tied to the insurance industry. And so, me representing people that might want to sue their insurance clients just didn't fit. And so, it was a cordial split. I still maintain friendships with all my former partners.
Beautiful. Yeah. No burning of bridges here.
Absolutely not.
Right.
And it was really instrumental in allowing me to use the relationships that I had formed on that insurance side. So when I'm representing people against those companies, I actually know a lot of the adjusters, actually trained a bunch of them. And so it makes things and has made things a lot easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love it. And then tell me about your experience working within the insurance industry and how that shaped your approach to personal injury law.
So when I was doing insurance defense, quite candidly, I saw a lot of sloppy work on the
Hmm.
plaintiff side. And I remember thinking to myself time after time after time, why do these lawyers keep making these same mistakes that are killing their cases and ultimately hurting their clients? And so when I started doing plaintiff's work, I said to myself, okay, you know what bad looks like, and we're not going to repeat that. And you also know what good looks like because there are very many, strong personal injury lawyers
Yeah.
in this area. And so I used the things that I said, okay, those are bad. I'm not going to do them. And then I also used the things that I said, okay, those are good. And I'm going to use those items.
Yeah. No, I feel like that definitely motivated you. You're like, okay, that's some sloppy stuff there. I'm going to make sure I'm aware of that now and I do not want to come off like that.
Right. Because ultimately it's the client who gets hurt. The lawyer's going to have many, many, many more cases. But for the vast majority of people who are injured, they only have one claim.
Yep.
And so it makes it very, very important that that one claim is handled properly.
Absolutely. And then tell me about the transition from when I already asked you that. What are some key milestones in the firm's journey so far?
Well, I guess one of the first milestones, was settling our first seven-figure case. We were able to represent a grandmother who resided in Fauquier County. She was going home after, a job interview, had an ice cream sundae with her in the car and was planning on going home and celebrating. And, a driver not paying attention in a commercial vehicle came around a corner, and hit her head on and injured her very, very severely. And we were ultimately able to obtain all of the available insurance for her, which has allowed her to change her home, to compensate for some of the problems that she now has, and also made it so that her future is a certain one as opposed to an uncertain one.
Yeah, no.
So that was very important. A more recent milestone was we purchased our own building in Old Town Manassas.
Okay.
And there's a pretty neat story behind that.
I want to hear it.
So when my wife and I first started dating in 1996, I took her to A Time to Kill, which was a John Grisham movie, and I had read the John Grisham book. And I'd always said to myself, because it takes place in a small town, and I'd always said to myself, at some point in my life, I want to have an old house that's been refurbished and use it as my law office, and I want it to be in an old town. So it could have been in Old Town Warrenton, could have been in Old Town Manassas. Old Town Alexandria is a little bit too, urban, so probably wouldn't have fit. And so for years, my wife and I looked for that place.
Yeah.
And we thought we had a place back in the mid-2000s, put a contract on it, didn't work.
Darn it.
And then this one came up, and it was actually owned by some folks that I'd gone to school with, gone to high school with.
Look at that.
And it just kind of, came to be. And so we bought that and moved in last August. And every time now when I step across the creaky floors that have, are from 1910, it brings a smile to my face because it truly was a dream realized.
That is awesome. I like how wifey was involved with it too, and like the search and the journey for that perfect place.
Yeah. Well, we've been together almost 30 years. We started both with nothing, so everything we've built, has been together.
That's awesome. I love it. I love that. The ground up and now together.
You got it.
The journey was not alone. And then talk to me about the firm's client-centered approach, such as transparency, communication, and making legal processes stress-free. And I know that you say, this is a quote from you, we want to make everything easier for you. What does that mean?
So one of the biggest complaints that clients have, and we hear this when we go to legal seminars and when bar representatives talk to us and so forth, is that clients are not kept up to date on what's happening. And so as a lawyer in the office, you're doing the right things. You're doing the work that needs to be done. But many times the client is not kept abreast of what's happening. And so these personal injury cases can go on sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And many times they're sitting there thinking, what is happening? What is happening? And so a lawyer who was a colleague of mine and also a mentor taught me long ago that it's helpful even to tell the client, look, there's nothing happening, but at least they know.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that, we said, this is really important to us. We need to make sure that clients are kept up to date and kept abreast of what's happening. And so with our technology today, which is great, we're able to text message them through our case management system. Of course, we're able to email them, and we make phone calls. So we try and use all of those things. We also have a system that will actually automatically update clients when, key steps have been taken, such as if we filed a lawsuit on their behalf.
Yeah.
They'll get an automatic message knowing, hey, this has happened. And that may give rise to some questions from the client that then we then answer, But also, anytime we can help them, if we need a certain piece of documentation, as opposed to them running somewhere and getting it, we say, hey, give us the information, we'll go get it for you.
Yes.
So we try and make it just, and I like to use the word easy. I don't know if you remember the old Staples commercials where there was the easy red button, and they
I
were
don't.
Okay. Well, they're an office supply company.
I do know the company, but I just don't remember the.
So
No, it's in big white words.
Yeah.
It says easy, and it's just yes, I do.
They have that big easy button. And so I guess it was a couple of years ago, we were all meeting, and I said, I think that's a great thing for us to keep in our mind, even though we can't copy what Staples did.
Yes.
But we'll say, we're trying to make it as easy as possible, because a lot of people, when they come to us, it's the worst time of their life.
Absolutely.
They've suffered debilitating injuries. They can't work. They can't take care of their families. They can't even sometimes hug their loved ones. So those are really trying times. And if we can make their life just a bit easier, then I believe that's very helpful for them. And it makes us feel good, selfishly.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And I love that you're so aware of that and you care. A lot of people are just like, okay, this is just strictly business. it doesn't matter. Like, it's not my issue. I'm here to work for them. But you look way more past that. You're just like, okay, they're going through something horrible, and I want to make sure that when they come here, that it's not adding to that stress, more stuff on their plate, and
Yeah.
that they're cared for here.
Yeah. Now, the other side of that is that you do always have to maintain objectivity.
Yeah.
And so that sometimes means telling a client things they don't want to hear. But I'm able to use the experience I had from working on the other side for the insurance companies to tell them, hey, listen, this just isn't going to work. And hey, your doctor unfortunately won't support that. I know you have concerns about your future, but the doctor doesn't share those. And so sometimes it means delivering, bad information, but that's part of my job.
Yes.
Because, if I give them only,
Good news.
Life through rose-colored lenses, and then, the ultimate result is not what they were expecting, they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But if I tell them all along, this is the good, the bad, and the ugly, then they understand what to expect, and typically that means there's going to be a positive result.
Yes. Yeah. Being transparent, but honest with them.
Right.
I like that style, but still having that care.
Yes.
So I appreciate you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
And then how does the firm simplify complex legal matters for injury victims?
Well, we've handled thousands of cases over the last 20 plus years. And again, having done thousands from the insurance side, I can look at pretty much any situation and tell a client, fairly quickly, this is where the case is going to go. And it's largely based on the experience that I have and that my staff, has.
Yeah.
And so we have employees that have been with us for over 10 years, which is very uncommon these days.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Right, because everybody job hops. But we've had a very loyal, set of folks that are with us, and they've grown with us. And so all of our collective experiences, allow us to take complex situations and explain them in a fairly simple fashion. Now, again, that doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot of complex legal work that, that has to be done.
Yeah.
But we put it in layman's terms for the clients, and let them know this is what we're doing. You don't need to know all the legalese and legal mumbo jumbo behind it, but this is what we're seeking to do, and we'll let you know, what happens.
Absolutely. And now I'd like to ask you a little bit about that. You said you've had your team with you for 10 years. How many employees do you have?
Well, now we have a total of 13 on the team. And
Wow.
we have added several members in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
But our core group, including my wife, including our lead case manager named Stephanie, our medical records coordinator, Anastasia, they've all been with us, decade plus.
Yeah, that is incredible. Now, entrepreneurs do listen to this. I'd like to know, maybe you can offer some insight or tips on how do you find those ideal, loyal people? Like, what is the secret sauce to that? Because, again, you had mentioned that there's a lot of job hopping nowadays. How are you maintaining and building this relationship with your employees where they stay with you for that long?
Well, and I want to be transparent. We've had a lot that didn't stay, but the core folks have stayed because we share common principles. And we know that seeking the best result for the client, is that core common principle. And so, one, to keep an employee happy, you do have to compensate them well, and you have to make sure that you're listening to what their needs are. And so I'll use Stephanie as an example. She's been with us 14 years.
Shout out, Stephanie.
Throughout that 14 years, she went, to college and graduated. And so there were times where she would say, hey, Jim, I need to take this class. And that means that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'd have to leave early. Is that something we can make work? And, I think you could ask her. We never said no, because she's an extremely hard worker and we trust her. And we said, well, we know you're going to make up the time. Whatever you need, just let us know what it is. We'll put it on the calendar and we'll roll from there.
Wow.
So business, obviously, you do have to make money
That's
in order
right.
to succeed and keep the doors open. But you also have to listen, learn, and assist the people with whom you work, so that they're invested in what, we're all doing collectively.
Yes. No, I think that's awesome. And I like that you did have the transparency there because, like you said, it's not all rose-colored glasses, but it just goes to show that, yes, maybe you'll go through some people, but you will also find your core people as well in that process. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Yeah. Tell me about giving back and your commitment to the community.
Okay. So I would say the main contribution that I personally have made, over the last decade plus is I coached 36 youth sports teams. And so I have two children now, getting ready to be 21 and 18. And so I was always coaching both of them in no less than one sport per season, from 2013 or so on up, until just recently.
Yeah.
And so I made lots and lots of connections throughout the community, donated literally thousands of hours, on the field, working for boards of directors,
Yeah.
doing marketing things, working in the snack shack, selling drinks during, softball games and football games and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
We also have some community programs at the firm. Every year we do a coat drive, and so we try and gather as many gently used coats as we can so that we can donate those to the less fortunate. We've started a program called Wild Summer where, we donate sports goods and so forth to kids because, I'm big on athletics and I'm really big on exercise and health. And I see today that children, are obese and they're inactive and they've got their faces in their phones.
Yes.
And so we want to change that, and I hearken back to when I was a child. You'd wake up, you'd eat breakfast, and then you're out playing until it's lunchtime, come home, eat, and go back out and come back for dinner time. And then again, a lot of these kids are sitting in front of TVs and doing things. And so to promote activity, we've put a program together and say, hey, parents, come to us if you need some sports equipment, if you need a football, soccer ball, if you need a bike with it, and a helmet. All of those things we're willing to donate. And so we've pledged to give $20,000 over the next several years, back to our community in this type of program.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I do want to make a point there that, things have changed so much. I was actually one of the lucky generation that still went outside. I have like scars on my kneecaps from rollerblading and all that stuff, which I'm kind of like, why did I do that? But anyway, no, I think that's awesome that you care about that. And what made you like realize that? Like, what made you like, why did that become so important to you that you noticed that?
Well, with the coaching, I would see children, and I would also see the children again as the advent of the cell phone, came about. I'm seeing less participation, and I'm seeing again a greater deal of obesity, which is just unhealthy, and so those sorts of things, you would see and say, and so I would say to myself, what can we do? And again, I understand it's not going to change the world, but if we can impact a few lives, then and have some influence, then I think that it's worthwhile, know. And then one other program that we've tried to do, and I'll tell you without a great deal of success, which, maybe this platform will help.
Hopefully.
Is we've, put together a program called the Golden Apple Program where we donate money to teachers. Because teachers, are oftentimes going in their own pocket to buy supplies for the classroom and to help their children learn.
Yes.
Which, I won't get into politics, but it sure seems like there should be enough money where the teachers don't have to do that. But we've put together a program, where we said we will donate $100 a week to a teacher if they fill out an application or if somebody else nominates them. We haven't gotten a lot of traction with the program. And so I'm hopeful that maybe people will hear it here or, see it on the website and nominate a teacher, because I'm happy to write the check, if it means that that teacher doesn't have to pay and it helps a kid.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm definitely going to make a point to when I have this for our end to put that out there. So, because this is such a great thing, and the fact that nobody knows about it as much as we'd like to, heck yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And I do agree. I feel like teachers do so much and they always try to make their classrooms so fun and just engaging, and it does come out of their pockets. And the fact that they cared enough to do that so their experience with them is memorable and fun. I love what you're doing. Yeah,
well, my mom, worked in the education system for 25 plus years, and I substitute taught in between undergraduate school and law school, and so I saw a lot of it firsthand.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends from high school and from college are teachers, and so I see it firsthand. So it just seemed like a nice place to be able to give back.
Absolutely. Could you tell me the future of Parrish Law Firm and Jim, some growth plans for the firm maybe that you have coming up?
Well, we are actively seeking to add another attorney to the firm. And we are seeking to expand, our client base. And so we do have plans to open a new office out here in Leesburg. We're just looking for the right spot. And we just want to be able to continue to serve, the needs of more people. But we don't want to sacrifice quality.
That's right.
So it has to be a controlled growth so that we're able to still provide the same level of representation to every client that we represent. But, we do want to represent more.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask about marketing. What are you currently doing to get the word out there about yourself? Are you maybe social media? I know we talked about boomerang, so I don't know.
Right.
Or
We did our first boomerang.
we did, and you guys will see that later on the story for today. But are you getting out there in networking groups? I know you're doing community events and things like that, but what else are you doing? What's working, what's not working?
So I have what's known as a fractional chief marketing officer, which means she works for me and for some other firms.
Okay.
And she kind of oversees everything. And then I have a marketing director who's a full-time employee. His name's Luis and he's fantastic. And so he does all the digital things. And so, I will have to go down in my basement and film things for him. And again, it's not the most comfortable thing for me. I didn't grow up in this generation of seeing yourself.
Yes.
And I still cringe, and I lament my, receding hairline and so
you
forth.
Look great. You look great.
And laugh at myself, and my kids laugh at me. But we do some videos, we do Facebook ad campaigns, and, put out blog posts, just all those sorts of things. You kind of have to be everywhere doing everything.
Correct.
I will tell you, though, the most valuable cases and most serious cases that we get are typically from another person referring that client to us, and so it's also important to make sure that you have and maintain and cultivate relationships with other people that can refer things to you.
Absolutely.
And so I have like criminal defense lawyers who will send me, personal injury cases. I reciprocate by sending them clients, that they can help us because I can't, but I'm always happy to send, a person who's contacted me and I say, hey, we can't help you, but these people can. And so by developing those referral networks and, in the professional context, it can certainly help. You have to do the same thing with your friends, because it's remarkable how many of your friends still don't know what you do.
Yes. They're like, what do you do again, Jim? I'm sorry.
Right. I know you're a lawyer, but, and so you have to tell people and you have to kind of remind them, sometimes you'll be in a conversation and somebody will say something, oh man, my friend's, mother was involved in a bad car accident and they don't know what to do. And I look at them, I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? They should be calling me.
Exactly. Hello.
And so I remind them, and it does feel a little funny sometimes because, again, I'm a little bit laid back and reserved, but you just have to keep putting your name out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm glad that you understand that, because you could be like the best lawyer, but you do need to get your name out there so people are aware that you're able to help them and the type of services that you provide. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, there's a guy that runs a very successful law firm marketing program.
Oh.
And, he's famous for saying the best cases don't always go to the best lawyers. They're normally going to the best marketers.
Yep.
And so what you really want to do is be a great lawyer and a great marketer.
Right?
And that's a very uncommon mix, because you'll see a lot of great lawyers that they don't have a lot of work, and then you see a lot of great marketers that have a ton of work and they're not really good, so we strive to be both.
Yeah. I have hope that you will make it. You will get both of those checked off. Yeah. Love that.
I share your hope.
Thank you. And now, what do you like to do in your free time? You sound like you're working with a lot of serious cases. Can that maybe sometimes take a mental toll on yourself? Or obviously you're probably trained to not take this home with you, but I know we're human and sometimes that can affect us in a way. What do you like to do to, I guess, manage that and set boundaries?
Well, I do a lot of exercise. And so, I grew up being an athlete. I ended up having some fairly bad injuries, so I couldn't compete in team sports, but I did gravitate towards lifting weights and became a champion power lifter, set up a whole bunch of state records and so forth.
Okay.
And I've just continued exercising in one form or another, throughout my life. And so that's kind of my, my sanity.
Yeah.
And so every morning, I get up earlier than I need to, and I'll go put on a weight vest and go for a long walk, listen to a podcast, maybe like this, try and learn. I have a sauna in my basement. I sit in the sauna,
nice.
And I'll work in there, but I know it's helping my body and it's helping, me be better able to serve my clients
Yeah.
and, be a dad and be a good husband.
Yes.
And then in the afternoon, I have a pretty hard stop, time, and I come home and my wife and I'll put dinner on and, I'll grab another workout, and then come in and we work and, just do things like that.
Yeah.
I definitely, I don't have email on my phone. And so I'm not sitting there checking it all the time. Because in the past I did, but about 5 years ago I took it off, and people said, you're crazy. How can you function without having email on your phone? And it's been fine because
Wow.
I'm I'm able to sit there, or do things with my friends, with my family, and not constantly be,
I know.
looking down at the phone.
Absolutely.
So you just have to maintain. A lot of people use the word balance. I'm not a big fan of that word. I think separation is the better, word. If I'm working, I'm working. I'm not looking at social media. I'm not talking to friends and family. I'm working.
Yep.
But when I'm not working, then I'm spending time with friends and family, or I'm doing things to better myself.
Yes.
I don't merge those activities.
That's a great way. I don't think I've heard of that one before, like separation. It's always like, well, I balance this, and sometimes I'm on vacation, and I'll just answer like one. You're right, instead of merging them together.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Maybe other people will listen, and they'll also be like, that's a good technique.
Yeah.
And working out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any other parting words, or maybe before you get to the parting words, is there anything that I have not touched on that perhaps you would like to get out there and share, whether it's in regards to yourself, your personal life, your industry? You have the floor.
So I will say one thing we haven't talked about is there is a little bit of a negative view, of personal injury lawyers. We have the old moniker of ambulance chaser,
Oh.
Because people say, oh, you're just capitalizing on someone else's misfortune, and I understand that point of view because the personal injury field can be very lucrative, but I always try and explain to people, listen, people are hurt by no fault of their own. They need help. And I often ask them, what would you do, if somebody ran into you who was drunk, and made it so that you weren't able to work and made it so that you weren't able to, provide for your family? Wouldn't you seek the compensation, from the insurance company that you deserve so that you could make sure your family was taken care of? And I've never had a person say no.
No.
And I said, well, that's what we do. And then I often get a lot of, oh,
Right.
So we kind of have to dispel some myths.
Yeah.
And I want people who are listening to this podcast to know that, yes, it is a business. And yes, it can be lucrative, but we're helping people, that haven't done anything wrong and have been wronged.
Yep. Yeah, and oftentimes I've seen cases where there was no justice, or it was clearly at fault of someone and they weren't able to get the justice that they wanted. So this is a very important, I think, field of work. And I know people can get those kind of vibes sometimes, because when you're driving, going down to Florida or New York, you'll see like, have you been injured?
Yes.
Like, call, and you kind of like, okay, that's kind of like, you obviously use your common sense and critical thinking to see like, okay, clearly this person cares and wants to help. So.
Well, and let's be honest, there are some cheesy lawyer ads.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get at.
And there are some cheesy lawyer billboards, and they're a little bit goofy. But, I think it was in the old movie The Godfather, when he said, I don't care how another man makes his living. So I'm not criticizing any of the billboard lawyers. Yeah. Do what works for you.
Yes.
But at the end of it, I want people who are listening to understand that the service that we provide is truly to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for debunking that. Really appreciate that. And now, do you have any final parting words?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think we've covered a great deal of material here, and hopefully anybody who's listening has a better understanding of who I am, who the team is, what we do, and how we can help folks. And so, if anybody listening knows someone who's been hurt, most frequently in a car accident, then have them give us a call. We will be very honest with them, because there are many people that call and I say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But I think that also has value when people hear that. But if we are able to help them, we will certainly do it, and we will provide a high level of service for them.
Wonderful. And what is your phone number and the best place they can reach you at?
So the office line is 571-229-1800, 1800. The website is www.theparrishlawfirm.com. So it's a little bit wordy. I would have preferred that I was able to get, the PLF or
Oh,
plf.com, make it easy, but it just wasn't available. And
darn
so
it.
whenever I give the email, I tell people, all right, listen, it's a little bit lengthy, but it's theparishlawfirm.com.
2 R's, not one.
Correct.
Yes.
2 R's.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast
Yeah.
and sharing your experiences, insight, and sharing about your business. We really appreciate
Well,
it.
thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Yay, good.